All right, I'm just sort of letting my hair do what it usually does, which is just flop around. Anyways, um, I'm just going to hop into it. There's no recourse. What do I mean by that? Well, in every other sort of aspect of life, there is kind of recourse. You go to prison, you could appeal it. You go to prison, maybe you get out in 10 years. You're an alcoholic, you can get clean and sober, right? With chronic illness, and it's different, right? Even with terminal illness, the recourse is at least I know when there's an end date. The doctors literally tell you 3 to 6 months, 2 to 5 years, whatever, and you go, okay. I mean, you're not happy with it, but you go, okay, okay, okay. You have to come to terms with it, and most people that I've seen on YouTube, which is kind of morose that that's on YouTube, but who are talk about dealing with this kind of thing, they go, okay, I know what I know how much time I have left, and I have to make do with it. I have to make hay while the sun shines, so to speak. Right, and I can prioritize now. It's not recourse in the sense that like I'm going to get a reprieve. It's recourse in the sense that okay, I have answers, and they're not good, pleasant ones, but I have answers, and I have a definite timetable, and okay, I'm grateful for that. With MECFS, there's nothing like that, you know, and it's different than other illnesses in the sense that, look, I have a cousin with ALS, and I know she's going to pass away soon, sooner than I'd like, obviously, and I think about her a lot, and she lives in Japan, and it makes me sad because she doesn't deserve it, and she did nothing wrong. She has 2 kids, and she's my first cousin, and I love her. And yeah, and she has no recourse either, right? And so I'm not trying to make comparisons between different illnesses. I can only speak to my own situation with MECFS, and it's different than having a terminal illness, but it's just an illness that has really very little hope in terms of the indefinite nature of it, meaning it doesn't kill you. It just it just takes away all the parts of life that make worth living. Somewhat like prison, right? That's what Red says in the Shawshank Redemption. He says, they put you in here for life, and that's exactly what they take away from you. At least the parts that count, anyways. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he says. And I'm very, very. I was always fascinated with penology and the sociology of prisons and stuff like that. I read a great book about during the time that Orange is the New Black came out. I read the Piper Kierman book as well, her book, which is greatly different than the show, obviously. But I also read another great book called The Concrete Womb, which was about women and women's prisons. And then I read another good book about the economics of prisons, which was also very fascinating. But the overall message that I got is that even though it's a dark, dreary place, there is still some sense of maybe I can get out of here if I just do the right things. I'm talking about people who didn't commit murder, obviously, they're there for like 3 life sentences, but like people there for like 10, 15 years, they at least know that, okay, 10, 15 years, I'm out, right? Doesn't mean that their life's going to be perfect when they get out, but at least they're 10, 15 years, I'm out. Okay, right? I can move on at least, and I can get away from this place. And that's what Johnny Cash is sort of talking about in Folsom Prison Blues, right? Yeah. In verse 3, he's talking about, he's thinking about all the people on the train, and the lives that they're living, and that's what's torturing him. Is that he's like, the people are out there living their lives, and I'm stuck here. And then in verse 4, he's talking about, if they freed me from this prison, if that railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line, far from Folsom Prison, That's where I want to stay. And I let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. And what is he talking about? He's talking about seeking peace. He's talking about the prisoner's hope that the freedom and a new start could help alleviate the sadness and regret of what he has done. Now, is it it remains a possibility, right? It's an unlikely one, but it remains a possibility they can get out, right? And the train whistle is there is a reminder of his confinement, right? It would be a symbol, but it would also be a symbol of his liberation. And so he has that recourse, even if it's just in his mind. People at MECFS do not have that recourse, even if it's just fantasy, right? Because we know that it's just unlikely. People say, like, well, I keep hope alive and stuff like that, and that's good for coping, but it's not good for like what's realistic in the moment, right? And so people in prison or people with who have like I said, who are drug addicts, they can get redemption, second chances, and they can regain their freedom from their pasts, and they can regain their freedom from their addictions, and they can regain their freedom from even some people who are sick, right, who recover. They get that, right? People who have had cancer, people who have had diseases that are, I don't know, they're more amenable to certain treatments that are already available, like people who have certain autoimmune conditions, but there's medication for people who have HIV, but there's medications. I'm not saying they live a perfect life, but they get a reprieve, right? And we don't have that. It's just constantly some executioner with his hand on the fucking switch but he just never pulls it, right? And so there's another movie like that too, which is Reuben Hurricane Carter's film biography called Hurricane. And there's a scene where Denzel Washington, he's been in prison for 20, 30 years or something like that. And he's talking with his lawyers, and his lawyers are telling him, look, if you take this evidence before the judge and he rejects it, that's it. You can never show it again, right? I don't know the legal precedents for this, but I guess that's what the laws are or something. And so I don't know if it's an appeals court or something, but anyways, he goes, look, I've been here. I'm 50 fucking years old. All right. And you could just hear it in his voice. You can hear the amount of years and torment. And remember, he was in there wrongly as well. Right. And that's, I relate more to that because it's like, I having MECFS, I feel like I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm still sick anyways. Right. And I'm sure a lot of people who get sick feel that way, but I'm just talking personal experience, right? It's that I'm sick and I can't do anything about it, and not only that, I didn't do anything. I don't, it's just completely bullshit. It's completely unfair. I was just a normal, healthy, active person working and living my life. And then the next day I'm sick forever. And there's no recourse. There's no recourse. There's nothing. There's no infrastructure in place. We have very few doctors working on it. There's no judge I can go to. There's no meeting I can go to, and they're going to go, oh well, we have this 12-step program, or there's no fucking you put in good time, for your prison sentence of being chronically ill. You will take some time off the back end. Doesn't happen that way. And I know I'm saying obvious things, but that's what it feels like. I'm just using it as a metaphor, right? And so that's all I had to say. I didn't mean to. It's not to take hope away from people. It's just how I feel, right? If anyone feels differently, fine. Yeah, but that's it. It's 3 a.m. I should probably get to sleep. I probably won't because I slept most of the day anyways. So that's it.